Cameron Smith, what do you do or tell yourself to quell the butterflies before you go on stage to speak? Cameron, I'm going to tell you this straight up. I never, ever, ever get stage fright of any kind. I've never had it. I've had it as an actor, but I've never had it in a speaking event. And I suspect I'd completely forgotten my planetarium experience. People say, how did you just walked into this? I thought, well, I was acting student for a while, but I didn't do that much acting. It was mostly writing and directing and stuff. And where did this kind of ease of speaking to people come from? And then I realized I was doing live lectures for an hour for people, 300 people in the dark, since I was 14. And even then I just took to it. I've always just been a good storyteller. I remember even in high school, it was independent of the planetarium, was going on at the same time. There was like a special night at high school. It was one of these kind of, like one of these sort of faux adult things where you get they bring in like a couple of casino games like roulette and blackjack, and you're issued Monopoly money, and and you get punch that doesn't have any alcohol in it. It's kind of here's like a chance to pretend to be an adult kind of thing, or James Bond or whatever. And I was emceeing one of those, and my teacher, homeroom teacher I didn't have any class with, who had always been pretty lukewarm towards me, just came up afterwards and said, I had no idea, no idea you were able to do that. And at the time I thought, and looking back on it, I realize that, and I've had therapists tell me about this too, that on some level, and this is, I have to say, this is pre-marriage, because being married, I think, has absolutely, I don't want to say cured me of this, but it's certainly united these kind of things. On some level, I am much more comfortable. Well, I've already said and there's no question about this. I would much rather be brought up from the audience and speak in front of 3,000 people without notes than go up to somebody at a bar and say hi, without question. No brainer for me. And on some level, I think it was suggested to me that and to the degree that you believe it, this is a kind of a personality that I adopt. The reason I'm as honest as I am on the Stratosphere Lounge show is because I'm trying to make sure that isn't the case. That there's no. I just try to be as honest as I can be, so that and it's to the degree that it's for your benefit is great. But the reason I do it is because, to me, being honest about the things I'm not proud of maintains a sense of humility and a sense of it's almost like an insulin shot that I have to keep giving myself, because I have a mortal fear, and I'm quite sure I'm completely actually immunized against this by now, but I have a mortal fear of becoming a me monster, and so I beat it out of myself every chance I get, and I think I've done enough of it now so that I don't feel a temptation anymore. I do think that there are people who put themselves down, and that is not a sign of people who are happy. I do know that however, that self-deprecating humor is, in my opinion, a sign of real confidence. It's a sign of, I think self-deprecating humor, especially about something you're a little tender about, is a sign. If you're doing it, if you're whipping yourself, then you're just punishing yourself. But if you can really pull it off, it's because you're aware that this is a weakness or a flaw in your character, or whatever the case may be, and you're aware that it's a button issue for you, and you're going to push the button anyway, because you know that the button no longer has command over you, that you command the button, and that's how it works. Great example was a couple days ago, I guess, was on the backstage show, or one of the shows we were doing, and we were talking about how it used to be with studios controlling everything. You had to have millions and millions of dollars, and now with the internet, it's essentially an infinitely flat, infinitely wide playing field, where the people, where talent really rises, which certainly explains our low numbers in pretty much all the videos that we do. And that kind of self-deprecating joke is the kind of joke I can make. I'm not happy about the numbers. I look at, Paul Joseph Watson, he'll post a video and he'll have 700,000 views in a day. And he's earned them. No, don't get me wrong. So I am a little, not a little. I'm concerned about, and I'm a little upset about the lack of traction that we're getting to some degree, but also the fact that I can joke about it, and do constantly, especially on the Backstage show with Stephen Scott. Is an indication that while I'm not happy about the numbers, I can joke about the numbers because I know that that the content is there. In other words, I can say that audiences get their views based on talent, which is why my shows do so badly. And I can make that joke because it's funny, and at the same time I can make that joke because I know that the content I'm doing is actually it's good. It's just not being seen. So anybody who can make self-deprecating remarks to me is a sign of real confidence. And I think the classic example in terms of politics, too. Classic examples in terms of politics was one of them when Reagan was running in '84, and he said Mondale was saying that he's too old, that he's senile, and Reagan just went into the debate and said, listen, people have been talking about people's ages as if it was something that influenced the decisions of the American people, and I just want to come out right now and say that I will not hold my opponent's youth and inexperience against him in this campaign. And that was the end of the age argument. It just done, over. But you had to have confidence to make a comment like that. Joe Biden gets out there and says, now, some people have been talking about me forgetting things, but don't you worry, folks, I'm not going nuts. That's not the same thing as a guy who basically says, I'm not going to let my opponent's youth and inexperience, be used against him in this. That was great. And the other one I remember, just anecdotally, was I don't remember where Kennedy said this, John Kennedy, President Kennedy. And there was a lot of talk about voter fraud, and there seems to be pretty good evidence that there was voter fraud. In fact, you could probably find a case to make that there was enough voter fraud to cost Nixon the election, and then Nixon knew it and didn't fight it because he thought it'd be bad for the country. But Kennedy once was talking about this. He was well aware of the fact that people were, murmuring or not murmuring, maybe shouting about the fact that his father bought the election, rigged the election. And he made a remark about something. He said he talked to his dad after the election, and his father was furious. He said, listen, I bought you the presidency. I didn't say I was going to pay for a landslide. And the fact that he can make that joke I just admire it. I admire it very much. I think it's the ultimate form of confidence and also knowing yourself, because you have to know yourself well enough to be able to make the joke, and then you have to know yourself well enough to know where the boundaries of that joke should be. I think I'm going to do one more. It's mostly because the lights are bothering me. A lot of light in my eyes tonight.